Good evening, I'm AJ Legault. You're watching Identity Evil, an 8 News Extra. Drug cartel violence south of the border in Mexico has been headline news for some time, but a different type of cartel has been operating in our own backyard, using murder and torture to protect its turf. Tonight, we take you inside the most violent fake ID ring in U.S. history. And we do need to warn you, much of this story is extremely graphic. Gang beatings, torture, even murder. All tools of the trade for a Mexican-based fake ID ring operating multiple cells in Virginia and 11 other states.
Those are dangerous people.
That's a lesson this man, whose identity we're protecting, learned the hard way.
He called a gun, and he put me right here. And I go to the floor, and many people he called beat.
That violent attack happened at this vacant Chesterfield County home on Folkestone Drive, June 16th, 2009. Bloody crime scene photos hint at the brutality that took place inside.
When these guys put the gun in my face and on the floor, you know, blood everywhere in my body.
So what led to this attack? Our victim, who we'll call Roberto, admits to criminal behavior himself, selling fake IDs to people in the country illegally. Roberto took a phone call from who he thought was a potential client.
One guy, he asked me for the fake documents like green cards, social securities.
The meeting was set, but it was a trap. Roberto and his partner were about to be introduced to a Mexican-based cartel, intent on dominating the fake ID market in Richmond and a number of other cities by eliminating competition.
And he told me that, he say, why you coming over here? Because the Richmond is us. Don't coming over here because, you know, the next time you know what happened. When he said that, you know what happened is next time maybe kill us.
It was not an idle threat. The cartel, led by this man, Israel Cruz Milan, who goes by the nickname El Muerto, which translates to the dead one, would murder a 17-year-old boy they caught selling fake IDs on their turf.
The propensity for violence that this organization was willing to use, not only to instill discipline internally, but then to also punish the competition, in other words, to get rid of their competition. And so that was really chilling.
John Torres is the special agent in charge for Homeland Security for Washington, D.C. and Virginia. He tells us his agents caught wind of the fake document ring in 2010 and originally thought it was only operating out of Norfolk and Richmond, but their investigation soon unearthed something much more sinister.
We determined that it was a very expansive operation.
The cartel was funneling money back to organized crime in Mexico. Virginia was a major hub with 4 cells in Richmond, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and Manassas. They had one goal.
The whole purpose of the cartel was to mass produce and sell at great profit high-quality fake IDs.
Here's how the cartel did business. They advertised in the Hispanic community with business cards offering everything from painting services to stereo installation. Those business cards are then handed out in flea markets with whispered details about what you can actually buy with them. Instead of a stereo, callers were able to purchase fake Social Security cards, what the cartel called Smurfs because of their color, bogus driver's licenses, permanent resident alien cards. Investigators began building a racketeering case, setting up undercover buys and surveillance.
Averaging about 15,000 to 20,000 documents a year.
These are photos of an undercover purchase of fake IDs in a Walmart parking lot in Little Rock, Arkansas. Just over a month after these photos were taken, the gang's propensity for violence would reach a new level.
They literally killed the competition.
The competition in this case, 17-year-old Pascual Ramos. Like the Chesterfield victims, he was lured to an abandoned location by members of the cartel posing as clients. Inside this trailer in Little Rock, Ramos's face and hands were bound with duct tape. He was wrapped in a blanket and tied up with TV cable. The boy was then beaten and stabbed.
Unimaginably savage and inhumane.
His autopsy shows Ramos died of those injuries and asphyxia. Because of the duct tape, he choked on his own blood.
it's still hard coping with it, you know.
Ramos' sister tells us his murder devastated their family.
I have two sisters who are younger. One is 7, one is 5. And like my dad said, it's hard to answer to them when they ask, where is he and when is he coming back?
This murder would be a turning point in the case. The killers were sloppy, making a series of critical mistakes. They purchased bed sheets and thumbtacks to put over the windows of the abandoned trailer, then left behind the bag from the store. It led investigators to a nearby Family Dollar, where surveillance cameras captured 4 men making the purchases just an hour before the murder, and fingerprints found on the bag came back to an Edie Olivares Jimenez, who at the time, Little Rock detectives couldn't locate. To avoid police after the murder, Olivares Jimenez was ordered by his boss, El Muerto, the U.S. head of the cartel, here to Virginia, where he would take over the document cell being operated out of Virginia Beach. At about this time, federal agents were ramping up their investigation and had begun phone tapping several cartel members. What they would record is chilling. In October of 2010, from this apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina, El Muerto sets up a pair of conference calls to members of his organization. He tells them an employee has been caught stealing and, as a warning to others, is being made an example out of. He says, "It's a torture, buddy."
He was restrained, he was duct taped, doused in water, and then had jumper cables attached to his chest.
That man survived by jumping out this window. Speaking of the torture, a Laughing Cartel member says the adrenaline is awesome. The cartel would look to recreate that violence-fueled adrenaline high several more times, targeting the competition and members of their own organization caught breaking the rules. Showing no remorse for the dead teenager he left behind in Little Rock, Olivares Jimenez, who also goes by the nickname Daniel, is caught on a phone tap in Virginia Beach discussing how to deal with a rival document seller. He says, follow him to the house and boom, boom. Federal agents are now close to making their move to shut down the cartel. We'll have that part of the story after the break. And welcome back to Identity Evil. Federal investigators are closing in on a fraudulent document cartel, spreading a reign of violence across 11 states, including Virginia. Murder, torture, and a steady stream of cash flowing from U.S. streets across the border into Mexico.
They were sending back as a little over $1 million over a 3-year period back to Mexico, and that's just what we were able to account for.
Investigators were finding out the fake ID gang was run like a well-organized business.
This was like a Fortune 500 company.
And violence was their idea of advertising.
As opposed to using TV commercials or paid spokesmen, they use knives and guns and baseball bats and unspeakable acts of torture.
Federal agents are treating the operation just like a white-collar case.
Focus on following the money and the paper trail and the phone records, basically.
The fake IDs sell for $150 to $200 each, and agents have been tracking the money. As head of U.S. operations, El Muerto has been using Western Union to send their earnings to Mexico.
And he would send money back to Mexico on a bi-weekly basis to basically pay his bosses.
Federal agents make their move. On November 18th, 2010, a simultaneous series of search and arrest warrants are executed on each of the cartel's 19 cells. They recovered thousands of fake IDs, detailed sales and earnings logs, even payment records for coyotes for getting cartel members into the U.S. To date, nearly 30 members of the cartel have been convicted here at Richmond's federal courthouse. The dead one, Israel Cruz Milan, who orchestrated numerous acts of torture and violence, pled guilty and was sentenced to 25 years behind bars.
He told the court he was sorry. He told the court that he asked the court to give him a chance at redemption.
Edie Olivares Jimenez, the stone-cold killer whose actions the judge called pure, unadulterated torture, received 2 life sentences. He apologized in court to his victim's family. It's an apology the mother of 17-year-old Pascual Ramos calls worthless.
My mother says she feels indifferent about her apology because either way, she's never going to forgive him.
El Muerto's organization was in combination the largest and most violent fake document ring federal investigators have ever encountered. At least 2 members, as well as the top bosses in Mexico, remain at large tonight.
Countless thousands of their fake IDs are in use in communities across the U.S.